STARSTRUCK by S.E. Anderson. Sleeping in was heavenly. Having not yet bought a new alarm clock, I allowed myself to fall into a more natural sleep pattern. In just a week, I found myself waking up between 10 and 11, much later than expected, and it was amazing. But this morning I woke up to noise. Cabinets opening and closing, feet shuffling on the tiled floor. All right, so I was wide awake, keenly aware of the fact that this was not normal. I made my way into the hallway. The noise was coming from the kitchen. I was sure of that now. The smell of coffee was overwhelming. I pressed against the wall and leaned over the threshold, peeking into the kitchen. Zander had his back to me, but to my horror he wore the flowery dressing gown my mother had given me for Christmas, and he was cooking. I almost forgot the events of last night, believing them to be so real. They must have been a dream. But there he was, flesh and bone, quietly cooking in my kitchen, in my pink silk dressing gown. I let out a sigh of relief. It could be worse. The next time you try sneaking up on someone, don't hold your arm out straight like that. It ruins the fact that you're trying to hide, he said, turning back to the food. I wasn't sneaking, but how? I asked, balancing the bat against the wall. He pointed at the stovetop, his fingers reflecting in the polished chrome. I couldn't remember what Turen's ate for breakfast, he said, changing the subject. So I cooked what I ate last time I came for a visit. He held up a frying pan with an omelette in it. You want one? Sure, why not? He finished the one he was working on, flipped it in a way I'd only ever seen done in films. He grabbed the plate next to him. He'd been expecting me. Thanks, I said as he slid it on the table in front of me. It smelled heavenly. Can I ask you something? Sure, he replied, pulling open the oven door and retrieving a plate stacked with imperfectly formed omelettes. He sat down at the table facing me and tore into the top one, downing it in seconds. Why are you wearing my dressing gown? He looked down at himself, then back at me, obviously confused. What's wrong with it? His eyes were wide, too wide. There was something a bit off about him this morning, like he was in a daze. I mean, it's a bit tight, but I thought that was the fit. It's a dressing gown, I replied, but he continued to look confused. 1, you can't wear that out of the house. 2, you're stretching it. And more importantly, number 3, fuchsia really isn't your colour. The Mao has some gorgeous ivory silk ones that will do wonders to your complexion, though. It was the only thing that was even close to my size, he sputtered. I took your advice. I threw the jeans in the wash, but the stains are stuck. And I inferred from last night's stay at the police station that Earth has a few policies on modesty. I needed to wear something. I rolled my eyes. I could have found you something a bit better than my gown. You're stretching it, I insisted, my heart sinking. Seriously, you need more clothes. One pair of jeans won't cut it. So, any plans for the day? I didn't really think about it, he said as he finished his mouthful. Not yet, anyway. I made you some coffee. He pushed a mug in my direction. The room smelled much too strongly of coffee for just 1 cup, the scent more pungent than the lingering smell of fried eggs. When I turned my head, my eyes fell on the countertop, or the place where it was meant to be. Mug upon mug were lined up, covering the surface until none of it could be seen. I could hardly believe I owned so many mugs. As I thought about it, I was sure I didn't. I didn't recognise at least half of them. Zander, are you all right? I asked. His dazed look put me on edge. I really like your coffee, he said, taking a huge bite out of the last omelette. What? Earth makes the best stuff to drink, he continued. I hope you don't mind, but I used your computer this morning. The internet's the best thing to come from Earth. Trust me, Oh my stars, the cat videos! The worship has gone way out of control. Anyway, I was trying to learn as much as I could about the current events, trying to understand the appeal of the current coffee craze. And I realised I wanted some. He paused, looking at the countertop. My worry grew tenfold. You humans need a reality check. Do you honestly drug yourself with this? He pointed to a pack of coffee grounds, which I didn't recognise belonging to me. It's just not right at all. And so bitter. And then I had to try some of the blends, so I tracked some more down and... Wait, slow down. How many cups of coffee have you had? 15? 20? Does it matter? Yes, it matters. I jumped to my feet. You're right. Too much is not good for you. You're full of caffeine. Can your metabolism take it? It's taken worse, he replied, making eye contact and staring into my eyes. Oh, Sally, 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 I'll be... And with that, he toppled off the chair, his head hitting the tiled floor with a resounding crack. Oh, crap. I ran to his side, feeling my chair topple, and I reached for his pulse, feeling nothing. Did he even have a pulse in the first place? I checked his mouth for breath. The man wasn't breathing. He was snoring very, very loudly. Great, frickin' alien can't handle his coffee. I grabbed his arm and dragged him to the living room. He was heavy, but I couldn't leave him sleeping on the kitchen floor with his legs half stuck in a chair. With a lot of effort and a great deal of difficulty, I managed to hoist him onto the couch. He was too long, so he slept with his head pressed against one armrest and his legs dangling over the other. He looked almost peaceful, if a little uncomfortable. His hand dangled as it hung in the air. Was there a handbook that could tell me what to do next? While there were thousands of books that taught parenting, I was sure there wasn't a self-help book about alien roommates. If there was, it was probably about adoptees and subletters. I didn't know if I was supposed to be annoyed or scared. He was only asleep after all, but he'd also drunk what looked like a lethal dose of caffeine, certainly enough to kill someone like me. Well, he was from another planet. Maybe he could handle it better. Maybe. Hopefully. You can pop over to Amazon and get yourself a copy, paperback or ebook of this fantastic comedy science fiction, Starstruck by S.E. Anderson.